Yes, let's go live. We are live. And yes, tonight is all about family. That's right. Oh man, now I want to go see Fast X again. How you doing?
Again? You want to see that movie again?
I absolutely want to see Fast X again. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the spoiler room. Thank you for pulling up a chair and grabbing your favorite drink as you came down the stairs to talk movie spoilers. And tonight, yes, we are kicking off our month of the hunters. That's right. We are looking at films with the word hunter in the title, which actually was a bit more difficult than you might think. But I've got 4 films this month with all about hunters, hunting creatures and such. And yeah, tonight with me, my right hand man, guy who keeps coming back for more and questions my choices occasionally, uh, is none other than Mr. Ian Simmons. How you doing, Ian?
I never thought I'd have to call you a liar, Mark, but you said that we're here to discuss films.
Ooh.
Red Werewolf Hunter. Does it count? I don't know. It's a sci-fi original.
It is a sci-fi original. It is a sci-fi original movie. It's a movie. It is. It's a movie. And what before we dive into our film tonight, which it is a movie, what are you drinking, sir?
Not enough. No, it's black coffee because I've been up since 4 a.m.
Yes. I'm drinking long drink. Actually, it's the Finnish long drink. Legend of 1952.
The legend. What happened in 1952?
Well, the roots of long drinks go all the way back to 1952 Summer Games in Finland, when the country of only 4 million people was still recovering from the Second World War. Concerned with how to serve drinks quickly enough to all the visitors, the government commissioned the creation of a revolutionary new liquor drink, and so the first long drinks were born. And now this legendary taste has finally been brought to America by the next generation of Finns who want the world to experience the refreshing and unique Finnish long drink. No, we are not sponsored by it. That's just what's on the can.
So what is long drink?
It's
What does it
basically
taste like?
it's got grapefruit, juniper berries, and it's carbonated. But it's basically a almost like a carbonated grapefruit drink.
So it's non-alcoholic?
It's alcoholic. Only
Oh,
5. No, it's 5.5 alcohol though. So
well, you just left that part out, Mark. You're like, oh, it's got juniper berries and grapefruit and seltzer or whatever. And like, oh, and booze. No.
And booze. Well, it said liqueur in my description. So, but it's very tasty. I had a little sample at the grocery store, and I'm like, this is actually good, and it is. It is refreshing if you like the grapefruit flavor. But
I'm just surprised you started drinking after you watched Red Werewolf Hunter.
I did have a beverage during Werewolf Hunter, so this will be an interesting conversation. But since you're here, Mr. Simmons, please be kind and give us a synopsis of Red Werewolf Hunter.
I can do one or the other.
You be you, sir. You know I have no restrictions on anyone in this spoiler room. Even when I'm the only one who likes something, yeah, I like Fast X.
Red Werewolf Hunter, I feel like I'm drinking, is the story of Sheldon Wilson, an erstwhile filmmaker who needed to help the Sci-Fi Channel shelter some money. So he agreed to produce content involving people who claim to be actors running around the woods, and 3 sets, which are repurposed approximately 82,000 times. They did do some community outreach with some impoverished kindergartners. They gave them a bunch of it's like 5th generation Apple with like early Adobe computer software, and said, hey, why don't you animate some werewolves for us, kids? And they're like, yay! I think they were also drinking lawn drink when they made this movie.
They were. This is grapefruit juice, kids.
But it stars Felicia Day, and I got excited until I realized it wasn't Kevin Smith; it was Kevon Smith and Stephen McHattie. They are the actors, quote unquote, in this film. It's about Red, played by Felicia Day. She's a federal agent. Her boyfriend,
Fiance.
yeah, Nathan.
Yes.
He's also a federal agent, and they go to meet Felicia Day's parents or
Yes.
family, whatever.
Red's parents. Her
Red,
nickname's
yeah.
Red. Yeah. Virginia Red Sullivan.
I'll just call her Felicia Day because that's like her big characteristic is that I've always loved her red hair, even going back to Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, which I would have rather watched 18 times than watched this once. But yeah, it goes back to meet the family. Turns out it's a family of hunters. They hunt werewolves because Little Red Riding Hood was real, and these are the ancestors. And every generation, one is called to be the the werewolf slayer. And there's a truce. Kate Beckinsale does not show up in this battle of lycanthropy. And yeah, the werewolves break the truce, and the werewolf hunting family must fight the werewolves. But oh no, Nathan got bit, so he's become one of the werewolves. So it's a Romeo and Juliet story for the ages, and then it ends.
Wow. So I guess we know your feelings on this film, Ian.
Mark, I wasn't kidding. I like every true. Okay, full disclosure. I watched this. There's a version of it on YouTube. An hour and 27 minutes and some change. I felt every single minute. I kept looking at that clock.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is not a long movie. I can do this. It'll be breezy. But no, every minute felt like an hour.
Wow.
It's cliched.
Yeah.
I kept thinking about, like, all right, people can make whatever movie that they want, but like, why? Why make this movie? It's not scary. It's not exciting. The actors don't seem invested. The CG is beyond terrible. Like, this is what people say Sci-Fi Channel. There used to be a meme back when Sci-Fi Channel had some cachet. Like, oh, it's a sci-fi movie. Terrible CG. This is the reason that movies like this is the reason it got its reputation. I'm just like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to get out of this, which is nothing except remembering that Felicia Day is a lovely personality and presence, and she looks absolutely lost here.
No, I think she makes the most of her character that she has here. The script is definitely sci-fi original quality, unfortunately, in many respects. But I had fun with this film, mainly because I think Felicia Day carries as much as she can with it. Nathan, played by Kevon Smith, he's he's all right, but he reminds me of a character from CSI Las Vegas, the original. I forgot his name. Was it Peter? Or excuse me, I burped. Apologies. I forgot which one it was, but he reminds me of a character from there. It was fun seeing Stephen McHattie. I like him because he's the one, I think he played the DJ in Polypore? It was where he plays the DJ with the zombie attack. I think that was him in it. I apologize, folks. I blanked on it, but he was in. I think he was in that one, and that was really good. I liked him as a villain. He almost felt like a little bit early precursor to
Pontypool.
Pontypool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've seen too many films that begin with P, apparently. Thank you. Pontypool. I love Pontypool. That's a great zombie film if you've ever seen it. It's a wonderful film that's told completely from the perspective of a DJ radio station. And it's wonderful. I highly recommend Pontypool. So seeing him here as the main baddie, I liked him in that he was having fun with this character quite a bit, playing the bad guy, and a lot of it, a little bit of him felt like kind of the precursor to the hat from Dr. Sleep in a number of ways, not just his outfit, but almost the way he talked in that. Though she did a lot better, but still, um, it felt a little bit like that. But I don't know. I found charm here. I thought it was breezy. I enjoyed it.
Was there
Mhm.
anything in this movie that you had not seen before?
Well, the idea of it involves werewolves instead of vampires, so no, I'm not gonna say that it was highly original. I'm not gonna say that, though I did like the spin they did on the whole Red Riding Hood angle to where Red, uh, the story is real and Red has become a legendary werewolf hunter, and all of her descendants, one of them becomes legendary a werewolf hunter. Um, and I liked her brothers as well. The thing of it is it does fall victim, and I could completely see your criticism. It does fall victim to one of those to where our characters are really good at what they do until they aren't. Which, you get not just in Asylum, but it happens in a lot of these, you see it in sci-fi especially, where you get the badass character who just has been kicking ass, like, half the movie until you needed something to happen to him, and then suddenly they make the dumb decision. You're just like, "Wait, what?" You know? And you have that here with her brothers.
Yeah, I mean, the one guy, he gets attacked and like scraped along the side or bitten or whatever, and then kind of gets pulled up by his neck into the trees.
Yes.
That was kind of fun. But the other brother, like, he goes up against the big bad with his fists.
Gabriel. Well, no, he had a knife. He had a silver knife, dagger.
I thought so, but then when they do the final cut, and this just might have been a continuity problem, when he rushes like off, like sort
Mhm.
of towards and then off to the side, like he's attacking, I don't think there was anything in his hands. That might have
There's
been again, and it might have been a continuity error, but I remember pausing and looking at that. I'm like, he's not going to use a weapon or anything, so
Yeah,
I don't know.
no, that was a continuity error because in the previous shot, he is holding, the silver, dagger that he pulled from his boot that he was killing the guys with. Uh, because yeah, I mean, it does fall into those tropes. You get, the main baddie, it gets the jump on our good guys, but instead of just killing them outright right there, he's got to play with his victims, so to speak. The two brothers, at some one point, get kidnapped by Gabriel and his new clan of werewolves who do not have to. There's the spin. They don't have to wait for the full moon. They can just change at will. Ha ha. Yeah. Ha.
What does that mean?
That means that they're more dangerous because they can become werewolves at any time versus before when the hunters could just plan for a full moon and then get their weapons ready and that
Right, but they don't actually show any of that. They talk
they
about it,
yeah, well,
but
yeah.
in terms of this being like any other monster movie, be they demons or vampires or whatever, the fact that there's nothing special about it because first of all, they don't even look like werewolves. They look like poorly rendered. I don't know what these things look like, but you don't get points for that bit of originality or spin if you don't do anything with it. There's no contrast. There's no like werewolves that they're hunting in the beginning and they're like the regular werewolves, but then they encounter the one who's kind of like different and that means something. No, from the get-go, they're like, oh, well, we hear that there might be one that can change, and
And
he
he's
doesn't need
training his others
he
werewolves to do that.
right. And here's the other problem because it's fucking stupid. How do you change a werewolf? How do you train a werewolf if they've never figured it out in the thousands of years they've been around? But all they need is someone to come along and say, "Oh, did you know that you?" It's kind of like the Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz thing. You could have gone home at any time. You just click your heels together. Like
Well,
what?
he's a good motivational coach. He talks.
No,
He
he's
tells
not,
about.
because he's completely boring. There is a sci-fi special effects showcase where Stephen McHattie he's straight on. He's got his hand. It's like the 1980s or early 90s special effects where they're trying to do early CG. They'd have an actor and they'd have his hand, kind of come up into frame, and it's the thing that's CG and transforming. They pretty much do that same bit, except it's almost a full body shot and it's completely unnecessary. But they waste a minute of screen time of him going like this, and his hand, it's morphing into a werewolf hand. The finger's getting all long. And yeah, I'm just standing here. Isn't this cool, guys? And like, yeah, I got it in the first 15 seconds. What are you doing? Say something, do something, motivate us, please.
He is motivating them by showing them that they can do the transformation on their own.
Yeah, but okay, do you realize how long a minute is, Mark? If I stand here and
Yes. I know how long a minute is. It takes some serious concentration to transform into a werewolf when it's not a full moon. So it takes a little bit, but once you get that,
this is 20 seconds.
Once you get that, it becomes, a lot easier once you get practice. That's what they're doing. They're practicing. At one point, we get the wonderful scene where all the werewolves that he's turned
It's
are
45 seconds.
Thank you. They're practicing.
No, this is not. That's not what I'm talking about. And that scene was boring too, because it's just bad CGI, and they're not doing anything imaginative with it. It's people transforming into monsters, which we've seen, and all they're doing is you see the actor, and then their face disappears because it's bad 2010 era stretchy, poorly lit CGI. But I'm talking about that Stephen McHattie's character, Gabriel, because he's like an angel. Yeah. He's just standing there, like doing the thing with the hand. And here's the other thing. I understand these people live out in the woods, but why are all the werewolves filthy? Like, the whole idea is, from what I gathered of Red talking to her fiance and family, it's like, we have an agreement. When the moon comes around, they all agree to just stay in this section of the woods.
Right.
I don't know why that means that they all have to just look like they haven't showered or bathed in 6 days. They don't look like hill people. They look like regular people in regular clothes. They just have like brown dirt all over their faces.
Have you slept in a den? I mean, it can get dirty,
They're not.
So
This is not like they don't live in an abandoned warehouse like all the time. And if that is the case, why does it have to be there? They're industrious folk. Build a nice real world style house out there. They've got the time.
because they may not have the resources. I mean, work is scarce ever since the last werewolf attack annihilated the town that Gabriel holds up and makes their HQ, the town that's out of the territory of the werewolf clan that they have the treaty with.
And you know what you do when that happens, Mark? You move.
They can't move. They got to keep an eye on the werewolves. That's their job.
They can move. The werewolves could go somewhere else.
Well, they can't. They've got a treaty, and they travel in packs.
Oh, right. Yeah, the treaty. I forgot. Is there a magical spell associated with this treaty?
No, it was an agreement. It was a truce that as long as they held to it, the hunters wouldn't come and annihilate them all.
So is it impossible for them to go to the hunters? Because they talked to somebody to sign this treaty. I don't know if the treaty, is it on paper? Is it a handshake?
It was in their book or whatever of history that it was done.
So they go to the ancestors and say, look, we've fallen on hard times. We don't want to have to break the treaty. Can we just, move to maybe you can move with us?
Werewolves out in the world.
There's an entire story here, Mark, that needs to be told. Instead, this is like pandemic era filmmaking, where you've only got, like, aside from the random crowd scenes, most of it is groups of 3 and 4 people wandering around the same 3 locations, like doing the whole, like, cool, you mentioned CSI, like, gun thing, like, oh, what's over there? And like, it's completely stiff. It's boring. It's an utter waste of time.
But you failed to mention the innocents that they kidnap, that they eventually turn or use as part of the game that they have.
I don't know. I don't know where they found these people.
Well, they found the one woman said that she had her car broken down and they were going to help her, and then they shoved her in a trunk, and then they brought her to be part of the game that they play, in which they release their victims out, and then they let the werewolves go chase them and attack them.
The thing is so poorly shot. when we introduced the people who are tied up in that, like, Saw-esque bathroom
Yeah,
stall,
yeah, yeah.
and then they have the dirty townsfolk, I thought that was all in the same location. Like, the
Mhm.
werewolves were, like, in the same room with their victims, and that's when Stephen McHattie comes in. No, they're in 2 separate places. The people were tied up, they didn't see any of that transforming hand business. They were just, like, sitting there scared for, I mean, I guess they're, chained to the ceiling, so it
They're
wasn't for
chained
no
to the
reason,
ceiling.
but the way that they were reacting is as if they were there watching the werewolf people. It's
Well,
very
they were just
sloppy.
scared. They were just scared. I mean,
I have no idea
you
how
know,
long they're there.
eh,
They were freaking out as if something terrifying were happening in front of them,
yeah. Well, they're
but it's
scared because they're
no,
trapped. They're
no.
chained up in a dirty bathroom. I mean, that would be like,
The
you're
people in Saw, let's just say, they were chained up to a dirty bathroom too, and they didn't sit there for 90 minutes going, "Oh my god!"
well, no,
No,
because the guy was a psychologist, so he kept his cool. So,
who?
Carrie Elwes's character. So
I don't know. I don't know anything about these victims or who they are.
no, I'm saying in
But
Saw, the
right.
reason
I
they
know.
didn't freak out. So he
Yeah,
was
but I
Carrie
no. I'm
Elwes.
saying
He was
I'm saying I don't
yeah.
know if any of these other people in this weird were psychologists, and we don't know anything about them. I mean, they're basically victims. They're fodder. There seems to be a
Yeah.
lot of them. I'd like to know, like, how long they've been collected. They do that whole thing with the game, like, okay, so this is going to be Saw with werewolves, and it was for about 2.5 minutes, and then it wasn't. And then it became more about, like, the family legend and the myth and all this movie wants to be about 25 different things, none of which gel
What
at
about the
all.
cool weapons? The guy had the cool silver-tipped weapon, Gatling, like, arrow gun. That was cool, you know?
I've seen
And
that
they
before.
had some cool, they had crossbow, and then they had the
Walking
silver-tipped
Dead, yeah.
harpoon, gun, and no one's saying it hadn't been done before. They put it all in this film, and, I
It's a movie about werewolves, so I mean, you're
yeah.
gonna have those kind of weapons, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just like watching a vampire film. You're gonna have wooden stakes. You're gonna have crosses. You're gonna have garlic. You know.
Right, and usually
Mhm.
you're gonna have something more. I mean, that's the thing about, like, but that's my point, Mark, is, like, if you're saying, "But look at the cool weapons." I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen those weapons in every other movie of this kind that I've watched. What else you got?" Filmmaker, not you, because you didn't make it.
No, I didn't. I
Would've
didn't
been
make
better
it.
if you had, by the way, I'm
Oh,
pretty sure.
I like the mythos. I like the mythos that they had with the hunter and being a werewolf. And the descendant of Red, and how the whole family was dedicated to werewolf hunting. And the fact she went into law enforcement, FBI, and she actually got away from the homestead. I thought that was interesting with Felicia Day's character, Virginia, uh, Red, and her relationship with Nathan. He was okay. He wasn't really a great character.
No.
The family, they really thought out the family, but he really is just there as the, I guess, kind of MacGuffin of he becomes the werewolf. He gets turned into a werewolf, but not completely, because much like uh okay, so this will sound familiar. Okay, I'll give you that. Okay. So he gets bit, and he'll turn on the first full moon, but as long as he doesn't take a human victim before the person who turned him gets killed, he can be saved. That
Well,
we've
but the
not
other thing
seen
is
that before.
he also the murder has to it can't take place near dark.
Right,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. Here's let me sum up Nathan for you, because what he is a puss. The first interaction he has with
Mm,
the younger brother is giving him shit. And it's just it's a weird line. Like, it's the kind of line where if I were Red's brother and
yeah.
her fiance said this to me, I'd immediately go tell her. I'd tell on the fiance and
Mhm.
say, "You need to ditch this guy. He's not a federal agent. He's probably into some weird stuff." All right. The brother says, "So, you're the guy who's banging my sister."
Yes.
Nathan says, "If you know anything about your sister, you know it's the other way around."
That was an awkward. That was a that was a line that I will admit I was like, um, that doesn't play, I think, the way that you think it
No.
plays.
A guy comes stumbling out of the woods bleeding and dying, and Nathan encounters him, and the guy
Yes.
says, "Stay with me." And then Nathan says, "Okay, I'll be right back."
Well, he had to get the rest of the household to contact 911 so they get, you know, someone to come and help him. But by the time he comes back, the guy is Cole. Not his name Cole. The guy is actually like burning embers and coal. Except for his
Yeah.
bracelet. His bracelet was pretty cool. So I like the bracelet. It
Yeah,
what?
it was a good bracelet too. I'm pretty sure that, the thing is, Nathan, he could have put that on and gone across the Spider-Verse.
It wasn't that type of bracelet.
There are many flashbacks. This film is an hour and 27 minutes long, and yet still feels the need to pad out the runtime. Did you count how many flashbacks we get to the montage of when Nathan first encountered Gabriel?
No, no. I mean, it was rather frequent, but that's because Gabriel had a telepathic link to him, and that was him not only tapping into his werewolf senses
Hmm.
to find out where the werewolves are before they attack, but also showing how much closer Gabriel was getting to him. So, yes, you got the repetition, but they were faster and they were more, bang, bang,
No,
bang. And
no, it
then
was the same. It was the same montage.
it was
Four,
slightly different.
four times. It was the
Yeah.
exact
Yeah,
same
well,
montage.
by the fourth time, he was ready to turn to werewolf. So of course you're gonna get. I mean, you know.
I was ready to turn myself into oncoming traffic. At least do a close up, add a filter, something.
They mixed up the editing a little bit with from the montage to montage with his, when he was getting the psychic link. They mixed it up a little bit. They would throw
No,
an
I mean
extra frame in there or whatnot.
no, he was
Yeah,
and Nathan was doing different things when he had these flashbacks, but it was the same flashback. Because I'm watching it, I'm like, I is this skipping? Is there something wrong with the YouTube, like the recording off the Sci-Fi Channel? That I don't know. I feel like I'm being punked. Um, yeah, I did like Stephen McHatty's line when he's talking about, I don't know if it's the victims or something, because that's the whole thing, is like the
yeah,
werewolves get to go and hunt the victims, and some of them are going to become werewolves
right,
apparently.
yeah.
And he said, it's a chance to become permanent members of the clan. And I immediately thought, that's what I want to see. I want to see a movie about clansmen who are
Werewolves?
werewolves. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay, now I wanna see, uh, yeah, that KKK9,
Oh my god. Oh no. That's that's the KKK9. That's a politically incorrect comic strip from like the 1960s. That's something R. Crumb would have drawn.
that is definitely something our Crumb would
Oh no.
What? What, a little dog with a hood,
It's just,
What?
I could just see the boss his owner going, "Go get him, boy." I'm like, "Oh no." Oh.
What? That could work. I think that could work.
It would work in getting you fired, uh, a lack
Canceled?
of friends. Yes.
But when you said a werewolf as a Klans member, I mean, what,
That's what I was thinking, but that has to be two separate shows. You've got like
Oh, I
the
gotcha.
werewolf clan
Okay.
movie, and then you've got the comic strip of the.
Ah, I see. But, I KKK9 would work as a God
We
dang
gotta
it.
stop saying this because someone's gonna watch this
And
and
just
not.
get that clip.
They're
And
not
yeah,
gonna report us. They're just gonna go out and make it, and then we'll be responsible
There
for like
will be.
the world's foremost hate cartoon. I don't want that on my conscience.
Well, no, it's not a hate cartoon. I mean, they die at the end. They get killed horribly by hunters with red hair because it's a continuation sequel to Red the Werewolf Hunter. See, Red the Werewolf Hunter then goes after clansmen who are werewolves. See, that's
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
I would too. I would
Yeah.
too. Yeah, like uh, you could it'd be the clan cubs. I don't know. Could call them, the new recruits, the ones who have recently bitten. They could be called clan cubs. There's
No, no.
no.
I think this idea is dying on the vine, and that's probably
Yes.
for the best.
They set fire to bones, like a bone shape.
No. Stop right there, Mark. I'm gonna lift you back from the ledge there, buddy. That's
getting back to Red and Werewolf Hunter. We have a grandma in here, of course. We don't have mom and dad because mom and dad died, but we have Grandma Sullivan, played by Rosemary Dunsmore. I liked her character. I wanted to see her story, actually, because she also, go figure, here's a parallel. It's going to be a shocker, folks. I know, but listen up. See, just like we have Red, who now has Nathan, who is a werewolf, Grandma actually had Grandpa, who had been turned to a werewolf, but they helped bring him back. But Grandpa loved being a werewolf too much, and so Grandma eventually had to ace him when he successfully became a werewolf again. So, but I liked her story. I wanted to see that story. I thought that would be interesting. Her dealing with a guy who wants to keep trying to be a werewolf, and you could take the addiction angle with it. You could do a lot of interesting things with that story.
You could.
They just don't do it here.
What you're describing there sounds almost like the Hurt Locker with werewolves. You see, that's the thing. We just need to come up with every other movie genre, but with werewols.
But with werewolves, there you go.
We've got PTSD in the war. What else we got?
Go. What else
Fast
you got?
X with werewolves.
I don't know. Okay, I'm fully admitting that no, Red Werewolf Hunter is not breaking any new ground by any means, but that doesn't mean there isn't some entertainment here that I found. And again, mainly it might be the setting, it might be the performances of Felicia Day and Stephen McHattie. I wanted more of that. I wanted them to be, I wanted to see some more of Gabriel, his interaction, like, maybe secretly he's leading this pack of werewolves like astray, like he's playing them to where he's got a different motivation in mind, but he wants them all to be werewolves like him that can change at will. But then secretly he has some other plan, like he's just using them to sacrifice them towards the hunter, and then he plans on like escaping or something. They could have. I was hoping for something like that. We don't get that, but there's potential for that there. But he was still fun to watch. So was, like you said, so was Felicia Day. So was Grandma. I
said Felicia Day she's fun to watch in other things. I didn't like her here.
Well, no, I know you didn't like her in here. I liked her.
I kept thinking, like, she's usually such a light. She does light a lot of light material. And she's smiling a lot and very bright and sunny. When she does the like furrowed brow tough chick thing,
yeah,
she just looks like Corey Feldman in a red wig.
Ooh, wow.
Well, it's all in the mouth and the nose.
Holy wow. That
you can see it in this thumbnail up here.
No, she doesn't look like Corey Feldman.
Yeah,
in red hair. No, I don't see it.
Internet says true.
No. Well, internet lies. They also said that The internet also says that all the members of the Flat Earthers are members from around the globe. So, you know, just saying.
Well, the globe, you can be from around the globe and still be fat. Around does not necessarily imply three dimensions.
Flat Earthers. Well, yeah, but it's still a globe. Okay. All right. You know, look, no, I'm not saying Red Werewolf Hunter is any type of deep film that's adding additional stuff to the werewolf lore, but it is better than a number of other werewolf films I've seen out there. Howling, well, not
Wait.
Howling, not the first Howling, the Howling.
I was gonna
whatever
say
6, 5, any of the sequels past like 3. Howling 6, I think it was, that had the country line dancing in the dark. I'd have to look it up again. It's been a while since we did the franchise series on Astro Radio Z. Check out Astro Radio Z, great podcast by our friend Derek Carey. So it's been a while since I did the Howling franchise, which was really look at, speaking of it, we said his name and he shows up. He is watching us live here. Mr. Dr. Dancing said, watch your mouth about Howling New Moon Rising. The Red Werewolf Hunter does not have any
but look,
dancing in the dark.
I would watch country line dancing. I assume these are werewolves that are country line dancing.
No, it's just it's townfolk in a badly lit country bar doing country line dancing.
I'd still watch that over this.
Wow. Yeah. You really did not like this movie.
Here's the thing, Mark. I'm watching it, and I'm not kidding when I say it's a complete waste of time. I am a poorer person psychically for having spent an hour and 27 minutes watching this movie. I got nothing out of it. It has no nutritional value. It's not even the Big Mac of movies, because at least that you taste something. This was, I don't know what that was.
Why? Don't you remember watching TV movies as a kid? I mean, this is a TV movie. So, I mean, you got to kind of take it like that. But
yeah, I did watch TV movies as a kid. And when they started to turn out like this, I changed the channel.
Oh, well, so you couldn't change the channel on this.
It would be one thing if it was funny bad. It's just completely generic. It's not, the werewolf transformations are terrible, but they're terrible in a way that, like, you watch one, you get it, like, oh, this is that kind of terrible. And then you just see it over and over again. It doesn't even, like, register.
Some of the werewolf transformations were, I mean, after they got transformed, I think they looked all right. I didn't think they looked, that bad. What? For a 2010 sci-fi film, original film. I mean,
for a 1983 early digital effects movie, this was bad.
How much Asylum films have you watched?
No, that you can't make that argument, because I'm saying it again. It goes back to, if you're going to have a werewolf movie, let's try and make it at least a little bit scary. If you're going to make the 5,000th werewolf movie, give it some kind of mythology that gives it, it gives it a chance. No, it doesn't. It's the same mythology as Buffy the Vampire Slayer, except it's werewolves.
Well, see, that's different. Then it's not exactly like Buffy the Vampire.
No, it's exactly the same. It's the exact same thing. It's kind of like saying, oh, this movie that takes place in the woods, and you got a guy cutting up campers. This guy wears a hockey mask. The other guy wears, a potato sack. That's,
well, actually,
I know it's the same franchise.
He actually wore a potato sack before he wore.
Yeah, I know. Don't even start. I know that, but I'm saying, to claim that those would be two completely different movies because they have different masks on, it's the same shit.
Yeah, well,
it's not scary. It's not interesting. The deaths, the body count or the gore, whatever, at least give me something to look at there. No, it's just same, like, bad.
What? Her brothers had their chest ripped open. You could see the guts and the rib cage in that.
Yes, and they looked incredibly fake. The one guy that they found out in the street or something, he had like that terrible, it looked like he was wearing a rib cage t-shirt with like puffy ink on it. That's how terrible it looked. And as far as the special effects go, It did not look like they were trying. This looked like, again, maybe some kid is like in his basement. Oh, I could do digital effects. And he sends it to Sci-Fi Channel and they say, no, this is not good. Instead, someone said, this is my nephew. He likes CG. We're going to give him the sci-fi movie.
And see, that's the thing. I mean, I guess I've watched so many Asylum pictures that it didn't bother me at all.
Dude, I've
Uh,
watched the Asylum films like Transmorphers Fall of Man has
yes,
appalling CGI, but it's
yes.
mixed in with a story that it's bad CGI that is
Mhm.
worth looking at because it's stuff that I had never seen before in terms of what these robots were doing and their interactions with people. And like, wow, they really thought they could make that work. These CGI wolf transformations, it's just the same stuff. It's kind of gooey and stretchy, but in a way that just made it look like the people didn't know what they were doing. Whereas with the Asylum films, it looked like they were just on the cusp of being okay. This werewolf thing is incompetence.
So you're saying you would enjoy it or look past the bad CGI more, it had the story for you felt more original?
If it were scary, if it had a story, if it had really interesting performances, lore that I care about, and some decent gore effects and maybe some atmosphere, yes, this could have been a movie I would enjoy.
Well, I mean, it's not doing too bad on IMDb. It's got a 4.3 rating on IMDb. Um,
That you realize that's out of 10, Mark.
well, true, but you also have some connections here to Supernatural, the TV show. So you may be interested in seeing this film for that because Kevin Smith and Felicia Day were both in Supernatural. So, and Kevin Smith and Felicia Day were both in Eureka. And so there, and see Greg Burke, who played the werewolf hunter in the film, also played a werewolf in the series Bitten. So, there's those connections, which if you're interested in, you may find interest with this film. Like I play devil's advocate here. Okay. I fully understand its worth. I found at least some entertainment in here. And maybe it's mostly because I'm a Felicia Day fan, that, as long as her character, I got behind her character, uh, and I wanted to see more of her character, and see them do more of it because I think there's interesting groundwork laid there for her character, and there's some interesting bits here and there that they do that I fully admit they don't flesh out, but at the same time, I was not bored with the film. Uh, but I've seen it before. I reviewed it a number of years ago. I didn't look back at my review. I probably should have to see how I felt. There's a lot of potential here, and I get it. There's a lot of potential here with what they have, but they took the path of least resistance with it, and they basically fell back because they had a chance to get, Felicia Day and this group together, and I think they we got to do this movie, and we get to make Felicia Day a badass hunter. But you're right, it hits a lot of Buffy beats, a lot of Buffy beats for sure. And
She
and
was
the
wasn't she was she in Buffy in
Mhm.
like the later seasons?
Yeah, she was. She showed up in
Yeah.
a character, which so yeah, so it brings it around. You know, I think she was in another werewolf film as well. I'm not quite sure. But no, I think they had a chance to make a movie with Felicia Day, and so they took it and they put this together. And Felicia Day, it definitely, was everywhere when this film came out quite a bit. That's when it's kind of exploding. Things were exploding for her as far as where she was at and the guild and all of that coming out around that time. So maybe that's why they brought it out, but I was not bored with it like yourself, though I totally get it. And I fully admit it's not a great film. But I think if you're used to seeing or you enjoy or consume sci-fi channel original films, you'll find some entertainment here, I think. Or you'll find more of the same, but if you enjoy the same, then you're going to enjoy this. Let's put it that way. You know, um, and there's an audience out there, obviously, because Asylum's been making pictures since the beginning of time. Sci-fi original movies have been coming out since sci-fi's been around. For the good or bad of it. So, but yeah, I no, it's not a deep film, and I am sorry that you did not enjoy this one. But I was hoping you'd find some fun in it. But whereas I did.
It's the difference between making another movie about a killer shark
Mm.
and making Sharknado.
Okay, okay, I'll give you that.
I've seen, you know, I don't. It's gonna sound like this is where my bias is coming from, but
Mhm.
it's not really. I just don't find werewolves to be that interesting in terms of monsters. Uh, because they're basically people who turn into giant ravenous dogs that have to be put down. Vampires are more charismatic, yada yada yada. We'll make an exception for Stephen King's Silver Bullet. But I've seen a bunch of werewolf movies. They
Mhm.
tend to be very similar. I watched, I think, 3 of those goddamn Underworld movies. I'm like, I know they had werewolves and vampires, but I was just like struggling to
Wait,
stay awake.
wait, you watched you did you watch did you watch the Underworld movies for the story?
I watched them because they were popular and people like, "Oh, these movies are so good." I'm like, "You're fucking kidding me." And so I watched them like, "No, you're all wrong. These are awful." And you know what? No, I didn't watch, "Oh, look, it's Kate Beckinsale in a skin-tight leather suit." I can reach into my pocket and see actual naked women if I want to,
Uh,
for free.
uh, and Dr. Danzig says, Mark, the only thing you know about country music is the first 4 letters. Um, you know, you know, Mr.
Town? No.
I listen to country. Okay. All
You're a
right.
little bit country, you're a little bit rock and roll.
No, only reason I'm country is because my mom listened to it in sense of, that's what she listened to. Okay, my dad listened to old school country like uh ah phew, brain is. I need another one of the long drinks. I think. Uh, oh, what's his name? Not junior, senior. Hank Williams. Hank
Mm.
Williams. My dad watched Hank Williams. He listened to Hank Williams quite a bit, and so I got that. I got old school country from him, and Johnny Cash and such. And I also got a lot of the old school rock and roll from my dad. But mom was strictly country, like Oak Ridge Boys, like the Alabama, all of those groups. She went to see Alabama a couple of times. So I know country, Mr. Derek Carey. All right. And he goes, and Derek, he also posts, Mark, Pappy wants water, water, water. Yeah, okay. Look, all right. Red Werewolf Hunter, no. I get it. I think there's a lot worse werewolf films out there. But you are right. Werewolf films in general have gotten the short end of the stick. And there's been some indie films that have tried to do something different, and in some have succeeded in various levels that I've seen over the years, but not many. Because you're right, werewolves seem to be, for whatever reason, a tough story. We tried to get some odd, unusual ones in the 70s, like Wolfen. You
Mhm.
do have Dog Soldiers, which is a really good
Oh, yeah.
werewolf film, but the good werewolf films are a lot fewer and far between.
Well,
Uh,
I think that's because, like, and, Dog Soldiers, I've heard it argued, and I think successfully, it's not a werewolf movie. It's a
no,
soldier movie about
right.
soldiers encountering werewolves. Ginger Snaps, you
Ginger
know,
Snaps is a wonderful, yeah.
yeah, teenage girls going through, the change of life, or, well, no, they're
Mhm.
not menopausal, it's
No.
but, the younger version of that, it's all about transformation and all
Mhm.
that stuff and kind of body horror. That's kind of stuff, when you kind of introduce werewolves into other kinds of genres, that's when you can have a lot of fun with it. But when it's just a werewolf movie, like, oh, these guys transform into werewolves, now I gotta stop them. Like, okay, that's the thing is I love slasher movies. Maniac goes out
Sure.
and cuts up people, but why do we go see those movies? It's not for the plot. It's for the spectacular, kills and the
Deaths, yeah,
suspense and
kills,
stuff
yeah.
like that. I don't know, and I'm perfectly willing to be proven wrong about this. I don't know that Sci-Fi Channel has a lot of slasher movies because you can't show nudity and excess gore and stuff like that. Because even though
And,
it's cable, it's still like, it's cable light.
and we cable light. Yeah, no, and Red, like I mentioned, does have some gore in it, but it's afterwards because of course the way however they classify things. You can't show someone getting their face ripped off, but we can show the results of the face being ripped off afterwards.
Right,
If
but
you
they're also very clearly, I mean, they're not shitty dummies, but they're very clearly like fake bodies that have, had a
well, yeah.
decent, prosthetic job. Like you couldn't show most of the camp counselor bodies from any of the Friday the 13th movies because they are, they look like the
Yes.
actors have been
Mhm.
dismembered right there in front of you.
Yeah, and it's and that's the problem with, and I think I said this in my review many years ago when I did it on the YouTube channel because I've been here since the beginning of time. But uh you know, the problem I think that it's hindered by the fact that it is a sci-fi original movie and therefore has to be on TV, because werewolf movies in general, whereas the vampire ones, are bloody, werewolf movies are viscerally gory usually, or supposed to be, because it's all about the feralness, the wildness of the werewolf.
The
But
claws and the teeth ripping through flesh. Yeah.
actually ripping through flesh, or even the transformation, as we've seen wonderfully in a few great horror werewolf movies, like original Howling. I will say the werewolves in the first couple of Howlings were actually scary and visceral, and there was gore that you felt, it felt brutal. And you can't quite do that with a direct to TV movie that's going to be showing on broadcast. Sure, you can do MA14, but there's still, you're losing that extra edge that at least some of the, the good werewolf movies were able to do because they were films, not direct to TV. So you're able to, and I think part of the thing with Red Werewolf Hunter is, I think that's where it's hindered, is the fact that it's made for TV. So you can't do a whole lot. So you have to fall on the tropes that you have, because anything more than that, it may get your rating and you're not going to be able to show it. And since Sci-Fi Channel's footing the bill for it, you want to show it on your channel. You know what I mean? Uh, so I think for me, I guess part of why I'm able to watch Red Werewolf Hunter is because I kind of see where they could have done as well with this show. And I do find a particular charm with it, but I fully get the criticism with it. I just personally, but it's definitely one of those background films, though. It's not a film that you could put on in the background of, say, a party or whatever, you could watch or whatever. Oh, hey, cool. You saw a vampire, a werewolf, and then you go about and having your drink. Um so yeah, I guess that's where I stand with it, is I don't see it as a horrible film. I just see it being hindered by the fact that it was a direct to uh TV movie, and it would have been interesting to see what they would have been able to do with the story a bit more, had they been able to not have the hindrance, the anchor of being a MA14 movie. I mean,
Yeah.
would you say there is at least potential here? It's just hindered?
No.
No.
But
Fair
only
enough.
because the other movies that I've referenced
Yeah.
and TV shows and stuff have explored,
Mhm.
I think, all the potential that was in this movie. It's like that's what I
Mhm.
say. It's a complete waste. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm saying like I could rattle off 10 different movies and TV shows
Mhm.
that you could watch the pilot episode of or a half hour of the movie and be completely like set on a mind blown path that this movie never even approaches.
Like country line dancing in the dark. That's mind blowing.
I still want to see werewolves country line dancing.
It's just people, but still,
I know, but you see, now I want to see a movie where someone does, like, there's a country line dancing in the dark, and the full moon rises, and everyone transforms while they're, redneck girl's got her name on her back of her belt, and then all of a sudden, that's lyrics from a song that I had learned in gym class. I had a country line dancing unit in gym class in high school.
Wow. I'm sorry.
Hey, the most exciting thing to happen was I got handcuffed to a ballet bar, one of those metal bars that ballerinas use, before class one day.
Yeah. Didn't you know your safe word? I mean,
No, you're not going to believe this, Mark. Some of my classmates thought I was obnoxious, so they played a prank on me where they handcuffed me to this thing, and they kept me there for 10 minutes before the teacher showed up.
What?
Yeah, it was good times. I know. You don't even believe the story is true because you're like, Ian, obnoxious? What? Opinionated? Get out of here.
Oh my God, you're opinionated too? Obnoxious and opinionated?
Imagine me at the age of 16 obsessed with Quentin Tarantino movies.
Oh, yeah, I heard that about you, and that's that had to make some, I was gonna say, make some interesting conversations. Did you get locked in a locker at some point?
Sucker punched in a locker room. That's as far as I got. Yeah.
See, I got jumped twice in high school, so
I wish I never got that kind of action. Oh, you mean like attacked? Okay,
like attacked. I mean, that happened later. Sure. Yeah. Well, we're live. I'm not going to admit anymore. But
dude, we already pulled out the KKK-9. What are you talking about?
He did pull out the KKK-9. Which I still now want to see a movie about evil group of, well, they're all evil, KKK clan that are a bunch of werewolves. That I want to see that now.
Or KKK-9 could be about Lucasfilm head Kathleen Kennedy's dog.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a misleading title then, though. So,
hey, it's no more misleading than The Rise of Skywalker. Anyhow.
Ooh, zing. And there you have it, folks. And I think we'll leave it. So at the end of the day, I think we know where Ian stands with Red and Werewolf Hunter. He despises this film and thinks it's a complete waste of time. I think there is a bit of charm here. If you're a Felicia Day fan, you may want to check it out. But I fully recognize its warts and the fact that it doesn't really add too much. If you are looking for a decent werewolf film, as we mentioned, especially check out the early Howling series. The later ones have alcohol, but the early Howling films are interesting. If you really want to see an interesting take and see Commander Amidala, not Amidala, from Battlestar Galactica, Adama. Thank you. I always say Amidala. Too many Oz in sci-fi. Anyway, Adama, if you want to see him butt-ass naked, you can watch Wolfen, in which that is also an interesting werewolf film that also plays the angle of colonialism taking over the lands of indigenous people. That's an interesting film.
That was Gregory Hines, wasn't it, from the 80s?
He was in it too, I think, but yeah. Yeah, but Edward James almost plays a werewolf in there as well. So there's that. As I said, Howling.
Thanks to your mix-up, Mark. Now I want to see Edward James almost playing Queen Amidala in a remake of the Star Wars prequel trilogy.
Boy, that'd make those scenes a hell of a lot more interesting and more intimidating.
Yeah, I mean...
He'd be far more intimidating. The Trade Council may not actually put the blockade around the Naboo because
well, just in terms of the performance, he wouldn't be able to sit on that throne because George Lucas would make him stand and deliver.
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
I'd give my left foot to stop this conversation. Anyway, no.
I'm Daniel Day losing it.
So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation, folks, about Red Werewolf Hunter. I will say, if you're looking for modern werewolf films, there is an indie werewolf film that I enjoy, and not just because it's got the lead from the last Starfighter in it, but a werewolf movie called Late Phases. It's an independent werewolf film that actually it surprised me because, like you said, Ian, a lot of werewolf films end up being the same. But this one called Late Phases, which is also called, I think, Night of the Wolf, but it was originally released as Late Phases. It's brought to you by Adriana Garcia Bogliano, and it stars Lance Guest as a vampire, as well
You
as
mean
you
a
got
werewolf?
werewolf, excuse me.
Mm.
Lance Guest as a werewolf. You got Ethan Embry, Nick Damici in here, Aaron Cummings, all of them great. Some character actors in here, they get some people show up, but yeah, Lance Guest is probably the most familiar name in that film. But yeah, it's an interesting story. The summary is: when a deadly beast attacks from the forest, it is up to a grizzled veteran to uncover what the residents of a secluded retirement community are hiding. So there you have it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I
I
just wrote
did
it down, so I gotta check that out. That sounds
I
fun.
I would check it out. Again, Night of the Wolf is what it's going under now, but originally when I saw the trailer, the screener for it, it was called Late Phases, and it is a different werewolf film if you're looking for something different. Not exactly completely action packed, but it's definitely a character piece, and it's got an interesting story twist to it. So there you have it, folks. What would you recommend for a werewolf film, then, sir?
Well, we kind of already talked about them.
Mhm.
I, I would say if you're like me and you missed out on like 20 years of Dog Soldiers,
Mm.
fix that right now. It's a hell of a movie.
It
It's
is. It
great.
is.
Neil Marshall, his debut film. I think Scream Factory put out like a 4K of it, and there's a ton of
Yes.
behind the scenes stuff, including like some of his early like short films.
Mhm.
Man, if you want to talk about like a guy who just dreamt of making movies one day and decided, you know what, I can do this. And he got his friends together and like built a career out of making, his own kind of genre
So
films. It's great, great
some of
stuff.
the best werewolf you'll see. Everybody talks about American Werewolf in London, but Dog Soldiers has some pretty freaking scary werewolves in it as well.
And
Um,
some really funny stuff and some really
yep.
touching moments, like
Mhm.
when like some of these. It really is a soldier movie where they encounter werewolves, because as these characters get picked off one by one, as happens in all these movies, the more time you spend with them, the more it hurts when they get taken
Yeah.
out. Usually very heroically, because they're trying to save their friends.
So there you have it. And if you're very curious about the Howling franchise, check out Astro Radio Z podcast. There's the franchise series where he covered all of the Howling TV shows, movies, and TV. I guess they became direct to video, so you could say TV shows. But all of the Howling franchise was covered by Astro Radio Z, run by Mr. Derek Carey, good friend of the Spoiler Room. Check out his podcast. He's got a lot of great, wonderful stuff there, including those franchise episodes, which I was very much honored to be a part of. And Howling, and where DG, who just tuned in, said they didn't mind Howl and Where. So those are also interesting films. Um, so yeah, check those out, folks. Red Werewolf Hunter, as you can gather, not so much, unfortunately, by us here. So now, here's where we give our license to shill to Mr. Ian Simmons. Please, sir, the floor is yours. Go ahead and shill away.
Well, thank you, Mark. I'm Ian Simmons. I run Kicking the Seat, which you can find at kickseat.com. I'm also on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and look up Kicking the Seat, you'll find me there. Do movie reviews and interviews and roundtables and all that fun stuff. Wednesday night, that's June 7th, we'll be doing a roundtable of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We also have discussions coming up of Yes, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, and then The Flash. So yeah, come join us. It's all good fun. And I'm also here every Mondays. Yeah. Oh my, I love that. That soundtrack from 1986 is classic.
Ye old Stan Bush, which, let's just say though, that Lion, I think it was Lion, did a better version of Transformers theme song than Stan Bush came up with. If you've ever listened to the extended version of the soundtrack, they have Stan Bush who came up with his version of the theme for Transformers the movie, and then you have Lion. I'll take the Lion.
I know the Lion version. I don't think I've ever heard the Stan Bush version.
You don't need to. You don't need
I
to.
do. I'm a completist. I am a Stan, sir.
You're a Stan. So thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation about a film that, is there. And again, one of us liked it more than the others, but seek it out if you're curious at all with it. Please seek out all of Ian's stuff. Thank you, Mr. Derek Carey, for tuning in, and DG for adding your comments as well as all of the folks that checked out our live show here. Check out specialmarkproductions.com if you're at all interested at the other stuff that I've done. I've got my 1 minute movie review of Spider-Man in Across the Spider-Verse, which is up there. I've got a couple of new interviews up there as well that I did with some independent filmmakers, which was a lot of fun to do. And this week's going to be a little light, but I was on podcasts last week. Many of those episodes haven't dropped yet, but they will soon. So, keep it here and keep it there. And don't forget to subscribe and like and bells and whistles and all that here. So you can check out the rest of our month of the Hunters here in the spoiler room. Next week, set your calendars, folks. Monday, we're at our normal time, and we're going to be looking at a Perfect 10 film, which is going to be Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters on Monday night. And then Tuesday night, bonus live show, as we're going to be talking about Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. That one's going to be Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time next week. So for our special episode, and then we're going to skip a week, and then we're going to look at Rise Blood Hunter. So those are the films coming up. Check out specialmarkproductions.com for the schedule. Thank you all for tuning in, and until next time, we'll say a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Let's put a stake in this. We're done.